Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Alan Burstein, who is a professor, who's a visiting assistant professor and an Israel Institute Fellow at the Department of Political Science, University of California, joining us live from California. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA, sir.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Now, Professor, South Africa has asked for emergency measures for Israel to suspend its actions in Gaza. What I want to understand is what sort of an impact can a World Court resolution have on the ongoing situation in Gaza, considering these proceedings do take years?
So as you mentioned, the final verdict will probably take years, but what South Africa is asking is an emergency injunction in which the court will order Israel to stop its activities in Gaza while the case is being heard. Now, Israel has chosen to appear before the court, which it has not done in the past. When it was brought to court before by the Palestinians, or in cases of the ICC, Israel simply chose to ignore them. Here it is choosing to appear and protect itself, which tells us something about the fact that Israel is taking this seriously. If the court does order Israel to stop its activities in Gaza, that does not mean that Israel necessarily will, but that will likely have a huge impact on world opinion, world support. Israel relies very heavily on the United States, for example, to give it aid, to give it diplomatic support. That is going to be much harder for the Biden administration if the International Court of Justice says we have suspicion that Israel may be carrying out acts of genocide, so we're ordering it to stop, and Israel refuses. The United States is going to have a much harder time backing Israel as it continues the war. So I think even though Israel, there's no one who will compel it to stop, diplomatic pressure and international public opinion will be very, very damning if that in fact does happen, which is why Israel is going to try to defend itself.
Mr. Burstein, I also wanted to get your thoughts on this. And now Netanyahu, for the first time, publicly opposed calls for Israelis to take over Gaza and push out Palestinians completely. Now, the fact that these statements have come on the eve of the hearing, which is there in the World Court, talk to us about how you view these statements. Is this, what does it mean?
So very much the way you posed it. This is clearly trying to make a statement to the international public opinion and to the international court. Netanyahu also put out the statement exclusively in English, not in Hebrew. He's not talking to Israelis. He put out the statement exclusively in English. Israel has a problem. The Israeli government is made up of extreme right-wing parties. Prior to the outbreak of the war, it was all exclusively extreme right-wing parties and religious parties, populist parties. Members of those parties have said things that are all appearing in South Africa's case as evidence for Israel's intent. One of the things that is very difficult, usually during international cases, is to prove intent. Here you have top ministers, members of cabinet, who have openly called to burn Gaza to the ground, to destroy every Gazan. There is no innocent Gazan. Today, a member of Netanyahu's party said, burn all buildings to the ground, no one is innocent in Gaza. This is evidence that's being submitted to the court saying this is what the government wants. And I think Netanyahu is starting to realize there's a problem here and is trying to at least have some counterbalance evidence to say, yes, but as the prime minister, I am not saying those things. In fact, I'm publicly talking against them. It's all rhetoric at this point. Israel clearly does not have a plan for what it's going to do in Gaza. At this point, Netanyahu is simply trying to build up some evidence so that the defense in the case can say, aha, but see, the prime minister said this yesterday, in my opinion.
All right, Mr. Burstein, of course, we'll be in touch as the case goes to the court, and of course, lots to discuss as the matter unfolds further. Thank you so much for joining in on World DNA. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Have a good day.